The most common question I get is, can they change? And obviously you can insert your own pronoun as is suited to your situation. I often use he because that is my own personal lived experience. So just change it to suit yourself. But can they change? The question is, yes, they can. I get the emotional component behind it with, you just want them to change. You want it to get better. You want it to go back to the way it was. You want them to treat you better. You want to stop crying and feeling like crap. I get it. But yes, they can change. Everybody changes all the time. The most constant thing is change. But the question ends up being, can they change for the better or will they change for the worse? And unfortunately, in my experience, in my personal and professional experience, they often get worse. Domestic violence escalates in intensity, in frequently, in the level of harm that is caused, almost always. And I know that's really painful to hear, but it almost always escalates unless there is professional help involved. And when I say that, professional help, it has to be them acknowledging their behaviors of concern and seeking out the help for those behaviors of concern. It's not you making appointments, finding the services, transporting them to appointments, going in with them, supporting them, absolutely, but only if you're safe. You have to prioritize your safety and well-being even when you are supporting someone. Sometimes you just have to love people from afar for your own safety and well-being. But it needs to be that person's responsibility to initiate those appointments and that help, which involves, if there's substance use concerns, that needs to be drug and alcohol counseling, because you need to identify the why somebody keeps doing that harmful behavior, keeps using and misusing substances, because there's something underneath it. And if they haven't worked it out themselves, they're going to need professional support to do so. And so that might involve a rehabilitation facility. It might involve an outpatient program, but it does need some sort of counseling or therapy. If there's mental health concerns, the first point of call might be to go to a GP to get a mental health care plan to, again, access some sort of therapy. It may mean medication, at least for the short term, but that is something that they need to work out with their practitioner, with their own professional. If there are behaviors of concern in relation to anger, aggression, hurting, again, there's something underneath that. What happens is when somebody reacts and responds by hurting you, threatening you, controlling you, it is generally that their fight-flight response has been activated. They have been triggered. Now, I am not saying that you are the reason for the trigger or that it's your fault, because your triggers are your responsibility just as their triggers are their responsibility to heal. So it's not your fault, it's not your doing, it's not something that you can fix. It is their responsibility to identify why they're being activated and triggered, and then why they feel it's acceptable to threaten, control, manipulate, any number of, abusive domestic violence behaviors. That's often a learned behavior, but it's absolutely not a behavior where they are in control of their emotions, of their feelings, and their reactions, and that's dangerous. So that also requires therapy, counseling, really looking at why they do those things, why they react that way, and then making those steps to make different choices, change those behaviors, and do something different, learn something different. And that can be really difficult, really challenging for people who, don't want to deep dive. They don't want to unpack what's going on or what happened or why they're doing the things they do. If they can't acknowledge that their behavior is concerning, then it doesn't look good from there. Can they change? Absolutely they can. But they need to do the work, and they have to want to change because they acknowledge that their behavior is concerning and it's not okay. If your partner or ex-partner cannot acknowledge that they misuse substances, are gambling, have other addictions, have a mental health concern, have anger and aggression issues, and that they are hurting you, if they cannot acknowledge that, they're not going to be able to get help to change that. And that's not your fault, that's not your responsibility, that's not your job. So while I absolutely believe in, loving and supporting the people in our lives, you have to prioritize your own safety and well-being at all times. And if that means loving someone from afar, then that's what needs to be done. I am Lisa from Lisa's Sanctuary. I speak from a lived experience of living with domestic violence, surviving it, and then healing from it. I am a hypnotherapist who offers one-on-one, intensive sessions to heal your trauma and to uncover your limiting beliefs so that you stop sabotaging yourself and so that you can create a life that you actually want to live. I also offer a healing at home online program with the same resources and processes that I use and that I teach. It's just in like an online audio program, and there's a monthly support call each week because I know how debilitating, exhausting, draining, and just soul destroying domestic violence and trauma is. And so I'm here to help and support and guide you to healing your trauma and moving past it and creating a life that you actually want to live. So reach out to me if you'd like to do some work with me, if you're ready to heal those traumas, if you're ready to move on and live something different. But otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of the day. You are significant because you are, and I love you because you exist.